Hello and welcome to The Explainer. So, week 15 in women's sports was absolutely packed. The headlines, the highlights, they were everywhere. But, the stories that are going to have a real, lasting impact, well, they weren't always the ones getting all the attention. So let's get into it and find them. You probably saw the scores, right? The big plays, the highlight reels. Of course you did. But did you see what was really going on underneath all that? That's what we're going to unpack here. The moments and the movements that truly define the week. Okay, so first up, let's just quickly run through the action that was grabbing everyone's attention. This was the stuff you couldn't miss. A total whirlwind of upsets, incredible finishes, and just some pure jaw-dropping dominance from all over the world. In the world of soccer, it was just pure drama. I mean, down in Australia's A-League, there was a ton of goals flying around, making that title race super tight. Meanwhile, in the NWSL here in the States, you had underdog teams just fighting and clawing for crucial points. And all over Asia and Europe, some of the big favorite teams, they stumbled. It really proves that in this sport, you can't take anything for granted. And that whole theme of unpredictability, oh yeah, it was all over the WTA Tour. We saw a bunch of seeded players get knocked out way earlier than anyone expected. You've got these younger, super aggressive athletes who are just shaking up the rankings. It kind of feels like a stretch of inconsistency from some of the established stars has created this power vacuum, and a whole new generation is just rushing in to fill it. And look, this wasn't just in soccer or tennis. The athletics indoor season was hitting its peak with some absolutely incredible performances. In NCAA basketball, those bubble teams, the ones right on the edge of making the big tournament, they were causing total chaos for the seedings. But then in the middle of all that chaos, you had stories of just complete dominance, like Mikaela Shiffrin just owning the slopes in skiing. But as exciting as all that was, it wasn't the whole story. Not even close. See, the biggest upset of the week wasn't just a single game. Not at all. This was something that was 9 years in the making, and it delivered by far the most powerful and emotional win we saw all week. 9 years. Just think about that for a second. Imagine competing against your biggest rival year in and year out, and losing. Every single time. For almost a decade. Well, that was the reality for the Oxford women's rowing team. In the legendary boat race against Cambridge, after 9 straight losses, they finally broke through. They did it. They won, ending nearly a full decade of their rivals' dominance. This was so much more than just another win on the schedule. This was a legacy shift. This is one of those moments that completely rewrites the story of one of the oldest rivalries in sports and validates years and years of just relentless, thankless effort. Now, here's where things get kind of fascinating, because sometimes the biggest story is the complete opposite of a shocking upset. It's when the thing everyone expects to happen just keeps happening, when the real news is actually the lack of news. And you couldn't find a better example of this than in NCAA women's basketball, right? The expectation for March is always chaos. It's madness. It's busted brackets and huge upsets. But the reality this time around? Almost none of that. With only one major upset in the tournament so far, the story wasn't the madness. It was the quiet, methodical dominance of the top teams. And that kind of suggests that the gap between the absolute elite programs and everybody else might be getting wider. So while all that on-field drama was amazing to watch, some of Week 15's most important events actually happened far away from the action. These were the battles being fought behind the scenes over things like money, safety, and identity. First up, money. And this is huge. The WNBA's new collective bargaining agreement, it is a legitimate game changer. We're not talking about a small raise here. This is a total structural shift. We're talking higher salaries, a brand new revenue sharing model so the players actually get a piece of the pie when the league grows, and just all around better benefits. This is a massive, massive step forward. At the same time, though, a really difficult but absolutely necessary conversation about safety started getting more attention. A major case in Czech women's football really put the spotlight on systemic abuse issues. And it's a stark and pretty sobering reminder that we still need much better global protections and accountability to keep athletes safe. And finally, there was a major debate around identity. Soccer superstar Rapinoe spoke out, criticizing new eligibility policies from the IOC. And that just reignited this incredibly complex and really important ongoing discussion about fairness and inclusion in women's sports. This is one of the biggest debates out there, and it's shaping the very future of who gets to compete and how. So, when you put all of this together, the insane upsets, the quiet dominance, and these crucial off-field battles, what does Week 15 really tell us? Let's take a look at the big picture. The real story of Week 15 is one of these incredible contrasts and just super fast evolution. On the field, we saw both total chaos and teams that looked completely untouchable. Off the field, these huge conversations about money, safety, and identity are literally reshaping the entire landscape. The big takeaway? Women's sports are evolving faster than ever, and it's happening on every single front you can imagine. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought. Wins and losses, they're temporary. Records get broken. But these structural changes, the shifts in how athletes are paid, kept safe, and identified, which of those will be the true, lasting legacy of this moment? That's the real story to watch.